Hey everybody, this is Steve and I'm doing an update on some of the restoration projects we've been doing on the small stream that runs through our property. So this stream is probably never flowed year-round. However, it might have had small wetlands that it connected before it was somewhat channelized, but we'll never know. So really our main goal here is to have water as long throughout the year as possible to help wildlife and to increase the diversity of native plants in the creek and its banks. So you can see that it comes, maybe not, but just trust me, there's the road, and it comes through under a culvert and enters our property. There's not much watershed above it, which is why we can do pretty much what we want and not get into trouble, because we're not going to back it up into somebody's basement or otherwise affect somebody else's drainage. So the first thing that happens is it comes under the culvert, and then I built a little rock dam to do a little filtering, and then another where the logs are, if you can see these logs here coming across, underneath that is another small aggregate type dam that I built with some logs to hold the aggregate in place, so it's a little bit of a filter. And then just a pool here that backs up behind this other small, I guess I'd call it a grade control structure is what they call them, but basically a bed of gravel which started to get blown out with water, so I decided to put some reclaimed pallet boards in front of the gravel so it didn't get washed away, and then I drove live stakes of silky dogwood to hold those boards in, and those live stakes will actually root readily into the soil, especially since it's going to be pretty moist for most of the early springs and summer and maybe even fall. So anyway, that holds back water and creates this pool, which you can see. But I also just threw, as I was thinning out the plants that are here, I just threw them all in here. So that's not really anything, except it gives critters a chance to access the water a little better, especially birds. And cars going by. I'm going to try to move slowly here. So downstream of the small grade control structure is just other kind of random things I've tried, which is live stakes across the channel and then just throw random clippings I've gotten from thinning out the streamside vegetation. So that's obviously not going to do much filtering, but it will hold back woody debris and leaves when there's a big storm and create a bit of a beaver dam effect. Downhill from that, you can see it created a bit of a riffle, which I'm told oxygenates the water and is also kind of whimsical. And below that, it backs up. Why? Because I created another grade control with live stakes in front of it. And below that is just kind of the same thing. So the grade control is just gravel, which is common around, readily available close to where we live, because there's some glacial deposits that are there. There's a gravel pit. So this stuff is all glacial washed, rounded gravel. So we just have a dump truck load dumped, wheelbarrow it over here. So it's pretty easy cutting the live stakes, which are here. These shrubs are silky dogwood. So as I thin out and coppice the dogwood to provide more light to other plants, I can use those live stakes to help make my grade control structures, and also provide a cross-sectional vegetative sprouting. How's that? Cross-sectional vegetative shrub layer, which can be compassed frequently so it doesn't overtake the stream. So this thing doesn't look super pretty right now because I've done a lot of work in here, but all the things that have been coppiced and or driven in as live stakes will sprout in the spring. And also the light, I've increased the light hitting the ground in here, which will allow more diversity in ground flora, not only from the sedges and so forth that are naturally here, but also kind of suppressed because it's quite shady, but also other things that we're going to augment with, such as wood mint. We had propagated some wood mint, which is right here. It's a native mint that's a woodland mint that can tolerate some shade. It's incredibly fragrant. If you haven't smelled wood mint and you get an opportunity, you'll enjoy it. But so those should spread, and this is just a fun project that's relatively easy to do, fairly inexpensive. We can get a load of this gravel for like delivered for like maybe $300 and create several grade control structures with hand tools. All I've used to do this is a shovel, a flip saw, a wheelbarrow, and what ability I have to act like a beaver. So far it's been working great. We'll see how it goes when we get a big rain. We've had some rain and some snow melt, and it hasn't overtopped this grade control structure since I beefed it up with the reclaimed boards and the live stakes. So obviously it's going to flow around it, and so I'll do an update on another structure I'm going to try, which is called a, what's it called? A vane, V-A-N-E, where you have a, well, I'll do that later. So for now, I think you get the idea. Trying to slow the water down, have it help recharge the water table instead of quickly leaving our property, and also increase the time that the creek is wet for wildlife and also for us to enjoy, because it's more whimsical to have trickling water than not trickling water. So if you have a property where you can actually improve your stream if it needs improvement, and you don't have issues with too much watershed upslope or where you're going to impact neighbors, you can do stuff like this for almost nothing. Just Google or YouTube stream restoration, and you'll find all kinds of interesting projects that people do to try to improve their streams and wetlands. So look for an update on some additional structures and over the growing season as this starts to fill in, leaf out, and look a little more pleasing. We don't really care what it looks like as long as it's beneficial to the wildlife, but obviously the prettier it looks, that's a bonus too. So for now, signing off.